Hi, everyone. I'm back again, and I'm just going to go through a very brief little um, presentation about invoicing. You know, preparing your invoice is one thing, but what I'm going to do today is kind of take you through a few things that I do to get to the invoice, especially those of you that are designers and are working on projects that are long-term, or you're working several days. You might need reimbursables and mileage and so forth. So anyway, bear with me. I'm going to share my screen, and it looks like I've got to go back a few. So bear with me a second. Okay. All right, so this is job number log, and this was suggested to me by my accountant to keep for every job that you open up that kind of is a separate job. So you use a job number, and it was suggested to use like three initials that have to do with, with the company itself. The year, which this was 2014, it's a long time ago, but it's still relevant. And then three digits for the job number. So this would have been the seventh job of the year, so 007. The start date, name of the institution or the clients, the project description, and who is your contact person. So I just keep this log in a notebook along with the invoices that I issue. Then I have an Excel sheet that helps me keep track of reimbursables, mileage, and the hours that I put in. Oftentimes you're going to work multiple days and you're going to put in 2 hours here and 3 hours there. And before you know it, you've put in 8 hours. And if you aren't keeping track of that, you've put in 8 hours and you haven't kept track of that. Now, lots of times you're going to give a proposal before you do the project of how much it costs, but keeping track of this really helps you understand how much time a project takes. So don't worry if you're putting in more time than you're able to bill for. That is totally normal, and it happens all the time, and even to people like me who were doing it for years and years. But it's really a good way. After a while, you really get a sense of how long it really takes you to do a particular kind of job. So this is the number of hours, and this is the dollar total that you have spent at the end of that month. I would typically do one of these sheets for every month, and then print it out and attach it to the invoice, and it's really a great record of that month's work. But if it, you might just use it for the whole project, whatever time frame you're working in. All right, so this is the end result of the invoice. So this is my letterhead with this logo, my name, and my address. So that's the design of my letterhead. And so I have just created an Excel document where I can enter all of this information in, and I copy it and actually paste it right into this invoice. Now, I work in Illustrator. I'm almost exclusively Illustrator. You, of course, can work however is best for you, but however you work, set up a format that you can save and go back and then fill in the new information every time. But if you set your invoice up in an Excel document, it will do all your calculations for you. You just copy and paste. So you're not constructing these tabulations every time. So it's just a time-saving device. So this is that's who the invoice is going to. Here's that job number, and I put a letter here. So this would have been the third month that I worked on that, A, B, C. So there would be invoices that were A and B, and this is the third invoice for that project. Here's the date, the terms due upon receipt, and this is just a monthly payment of this project. So you can put whatever the project name is in there. Now, I will typically put these columns, and of course this is totally up to you, and I am talking more about you designers out there. This is not so much an art invoice. I'm going to show you that in a moment. But I will put the total fees that were proposed, that were agreed upon. If there was billing before, which in this case there was, because this is the third invoice, I'm going to say, okay, there's already 22% billed, and this is what was billed. Here's the percent this billing, and this is the amount. Then the reimbursables, the reimbursables, which came straight from this sheet that I just showed you here. You can see the mileage and the reimbursables reflected on this invoice. And so there's a total of what happened. There's a total for this month, which is only $20.47. This is what was billed before, previous billing. This is what's billed now. So my reimbursables are $70.81. So here's my total. So, and then I always put a signature on my document. I save this as a PDF. It can be emailed, it can be printed out. I print one out, put it in a notebook so that when I'm paid, I can mark that off. But you can develop whatever system works for you, but do develop a system. All right, so this is more of a art invoice. So I'm still using my letterhead, as you can see. I've got a very similar setup. Here's the person that's buying the art. I don't typically have invoice numbers for artwork because I sell it so very seldomly, but you could do that. If you're commissioned, you would put it in your job log, just like you do if you're a designer. But you know, that again, your system is up to you as to how you organize yourself. But and then just, you know, kind of upon receipt or net 30, 60, 90 days, whatever your agreement is. The purchases for this piece, which was, this is the purchase price. Sometimes there'll be a discount for a friend, so that's a negative amount, and the net sales tax, and the total. Now, oftentimes, if you're selling through a gallery, they are going to handle the sales tax issue for you. But if you are selling, you are going to have to apply for a sales tax license. Those of you that are interested in that, we don't have enough time to go in class into it, but I am happy to talk to you about that process. It's not as hard and terrible as it sounds, but it is something you have to do if you're going to start selling things at craft fairs, at anytime you sell something, you sell your artwork directly, you're going to have to do sales tax. So we can, I can walk you through that process individually. And you know, when I'm selling artwork, I'll put just maybe the art label information there and thank them for their support. All right. And this is a certificate of authenticity. That's for this same piece. This is something that I try to give out with every piece of artwork that I make and sell. This is something that the buyer keeps with the piece, and it just, if for some reason someday these pieces become extremely valuable, or they want to give them to some kind of institution as part of their collection, this certificate goes along with the artwork, even if it's sold or they keep it, but it goes along with it to prove the authenticity of that piece of work. So again, those of you that are interested in this, I'm happy to, you'll have this format. Again, you can see that I'm using my letterhead. You can set it up really any way you want, but you'll have this piece in this presentation in Canvas, so you can take a closer look at it. And I think that concludes this particular invoice review. So I'll see you the next time. I'll stop sharing and say goodbye. See ya.